Okay, good evening, everyone. I call the meeting to order. If you could please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome to the Town of Riverhead Planning Board meeting. Today is Thursday, September 2nd, 2021. We do have a couple discussion items before we get to the public hearing tonight. The first discussion item is 1792 Middle Road Breezy Hill Group. And I believe we have Jeff Seaman here to update us, and Greg, correct? Greg, that's your project?
Yeah, I mean, Jeff was the, has been the meeting consultant, but I'll just give a brief introduction. So this is a discussion of a resubmitted draft environmental impact statement, which was submitted in connection with a positive declaration issued by this board for a site plan application to establish an asphalt and concrete crushing and screening facility at a 6.6 acre parcel located at 1792 Middle Road in Calverton. The applicant did submit an initial draft environmental impact statement. I believe it was in late 2020. That draft environmental impact statement was deemed inadequate for public review. They have since resubmitted a draft environmental impact statement, and in keeping with the timeline of SECRA, we do have Jeff Seaman here who can discuss the resubmitted document if the board would like some background on it. Basically, the draft environmental impact statement is now adequate for public review. We do have a resolution on to declare it adequate. Again, that does not make a determination on the action. What this does is just initiates the clock, so to speak. That document will now be disseminated to the involved agencies and made available for public review, and we will have a public hearing. So at that point, I'll turn it over to Mr. Seaman.
Is there a timeline?
There is a timeline. That's a
I guess from the time we approved the...
So yeah, basically detailed in the resolution that'll be before the board tonight, it establishes a timeline. I believe the notice of acceptance of the DEIS will be posted in the Environmental News Bulletin on September 15th of this year. The notice of the public hearing will be posted in the local newspaper, I believe, no later than October 21st. And the board will hold a public hearing on the document, I believe the first meeting in November, which I believe is November 4th. And those all fall within the guidelines as established under SECRA. So without further ado, if the board has any questions, I'll turn it over to Mr. Seaman.
Good evening, board members. For the record, I'm Jeffrey Seaman, certified environmental professional and consultant to the board for the SECRA review of the project that Greg has described. For the sake of brevity, I did prepare a memo that I hope that the board has had an opportunity to take a look at. Although I am recommending the draft EIS submitted as revised August 2021 be accepted and sent out for public review, there are a few items that I think need to be mentioned. First, this application is actually for a construction and demolition handling and recovery facility. That requires a New York State Part 360 solid waste management permit, specifically under Section 361-5. For a summary of the board's attention, this C&D materials that this facility would manage include brick, dirt, asphalt, rock, concrete, and as raw materials, their limited capacity is proposed at 13,000 cubic yards. The finished product would also be limited to the same 13,000 cubic yard capacity, and that would be comprised of 7,000 cubic yards of processed RCA, 5,000 cubic yards of processed soil, and 1,000 cubic yards of processed asphalt, with a daily throughput of 300 cubic yards of unprocessed brick fill asphalt, and 500 cubic yards of processed RCA, and 200 cubic yards per day of asphalt millings, 300 cubic yards per day of processed soil. The reason I bring up the Part 360 permit is that in the draft EIS that was resubmitted and dated August 2021, Appendix C5 includes the Part 360 permit application. Specifically missing in that application, in the section of the engineering report, were the equipment manufacturer's specification sheets and the proposed reporting documents. Now, some other information that were included in the appendices of that engineering report are included in the draft EIS, but I would ask if the applicant would agree to include those specification sheets for points of clarity once this is released to the public. Those documents, those appendices were in the December 29 EIS, and I think that either that was a printing error or perhaps they felt it would be more appropriate to just include that as a PDF in the entire online application. However, SEQR does require that a paper copy be maintained at each of the designated areas, which in this case would be the Planning Department, the Riverhead Central Library, and the Town Clerk's Office. And if they would agree to do that, I think that would clear up any confusion between now and the preparation of the final EIS, which I would recommend that information be included anyway.
Jeff, the 360 permit, has that been issued by DEC?
Has that been, I'm sorry, what?
Has that been issued by DEC?
No, there is no Part 360 permit that has been issued, and that brings me to my second item. I conducted a site inspection in preparation of this meeting on August 23rd. I know that Mr. Deniseski had asked I take a look at the man-made pond and determine whether or not that is indeed a natural wetland or a man-made structure, and my determination is it is man-made. It does not appear to be natural. However, I did see that there are still materials on site, and a review of the New York State DEC order on consent and an email that was issued on November 5th by 2018 by Nick Romero from New York State DEC stated that all material was to remove from the site unless a New York State DEC Part 360 permit was issued. My feeling is it might be presumptuous that until SEQR is concluded and a finding statement issued and a site plan approved, the DEC would not issue a permit until all those actions have been completed, and that it might be more prudent to just remove the material during the review process, because although the DEC would permit that material to be processed and used as either a recyclable item or used on site for road grading, construction, etc., they're not there yet. And referring back to the email and the consent order, I would like the board to at least consider that during its review period. I don't think that that should interrupt the release of the EIS. I think that that can run simultaneous. And as Greg said, there is time between today and when it is published in the ENB and available to the public. The DEC, being an involved agency, will also have comments, I'm sure, on the EIS as a whole.
Hey, Jeff, just a question on that November 5th, 2018 letter from the DEC. Has anyone inquired with the applicant why they haven't removed it?
Not to my knowledge. That would be it could either be our code enforcement following up with DEC to do that, or DEC inspectors to do it themselves. The wording of the way the DEC phrased it in my opinion, is a little ambiguous. They do say that all of the material has to be removed, but if you have a Part 360 permit, you can keep it there. But they don't have the permit, so I'm assuming it's prudent to remove it. It's not a great quantity of material. I don't think it's a tremendous burden for the applicant. If they had brought it there in the first place, they should be able to remove it as well. But that is something perhaps the planning department can help coordinate among.
Greg, you have something to add to
Yeah,
this?
if I could just respond to that quickly. So I have been in contact with a neighboring resident of the property, Ms. Goroleski. She's contacted me on a number of occasions. You know, these applicants, sometimes they'll come in the morning. She's not sure if they're dumping off material or picking it up. I did actually place a call after I spoke with her. I did place a call to the DEC's enforcement division, the DEC police. I put a call into one of the inspectors. I did not hear a call back from them, unfortunately. But I did try to reach out to them to try to get some enforcement from, the DEC. I think being that the town's code enforcement may not really be in the jurisdiction of the DEC's purview, I figured it was more prudent. So I did reach out to them.
Okay.
Did not hear a call back.
Thank you.
If it would help in Greg's efforts, I had been coordinating with the DEC in the December 29th DEIS application, and I'd be happy to help him follow up with them to get their opinion on where they stand with enforcement. There were previous violations earlier in the application process with respect to clearing. That is regulated under town code. The applicant has provided proof in the EIS appendix that that has been resolved to the satisfaction of the town. There were earlier questions about the status of the town's updated solid waste management plan and some of the codes that we had and recommendations that we had under the earlier updated plan as to whether or not any solid waste facilities would be necessary within the town. Unfortunately, we still don't have a clear answer to that because the updated solid waste management plan, which covers 2020 through 2029, really only deals with waste generated from within the town itself. We did ask the applicant to provide a list of existing similar C&D facilities, which they have provided. The DEC has listed several of these facilities as retired. To my knowledge, closure reports have not been filed, and I do know from firsthand observation some of these facilities are still in some form of operation. So I've identified those in my memo as well. So the status of those two items are still something that might be looked at during the comment period. There's no need, again, to reject this EIS based on those situations. I know that there was a great concentration on whether or not there were groundwater impacts from the existing conditions of the site. The applicant did do 4 groundwater monitoring wells. Those wells were sampled for volatile organics, semi-volatiles, pesticides, herbicides, metals, and PFAS, PFOAs. There were PFOAs detected at 2.89 nanograms per liter, which is below the New York State maximum contaminant level of 10 nanograms per liter. And the investigators concluded that there were no significant groundwater impacts that were occurring as a result of the current use of the property. The applicants also sampled the existing aggregates and soils that were placed on the facility, and they also came back with very limited, I think it was only one pile that had some limited contaminants, mostly physical contaminants, plastics, etc., that the DEC does not permit, and it's my understanding that that particular pile has been removed from the site.
Jeff, did you review the location and depth of those monitoring wells?
Yes, I did. They're also included, they did, I think, a very thorough report on the groundwater analysis to clarify that. And I believe that based on the directional flow of the groundwater, even the PFOAs are coming from likely a location off the site and migrating northeasterly in the direction of the groundwater flow. They did not identify the source of that contaminant, but I don't think it would also, the prior use of the property being associated with residential also would sort of indicate that it wasn't a problem. I think the major concern was whether or not the material brought into the site had any residual contaminants that may have leached to groundwater. The applicant has also reorganized the site plan, which I'm sure planning will take a second look at. They placed the screening operations at an access point from Middle Road. This is an attempt to reduce impacts associated with processing on the neighboring properties, because directly across from that access point is the agricultural field. They're also proposing to limit access from the trucks that bring material in and those that pick up material and exit the site to come in only from Middle Road, circle around the piles that are now centralized in the center of the site, go to an office, which is the existing house, and a scale, which is adjacent to that house, do their material exchanges and, their whatever businesses, tickets, et cetera, would be exchanged, and then exit again only onto Middle Road.
Why are
You
you
said
sending
Manor
down
Road
Middle
in
Road?
here. Sorry, you said Manor Road on your second.
Did you read Manor, you said Middle? Manor's the
main drag.
The main drag, I'm sorry.
Okay,
My
because Middle Road
apologies.
is where the residents.
With Middle Country Road, Manor Lane,
Yeah, just-
it's,
Yeah.
my apologies, thank you for that clarification. And then the other access will really just be used for the office personnel. And that's about it, if you have any questions.
Is that the document there?
Yes, that's the revised document. I compared,
I'm sorry, who did it? Who did the work? What company?
Nelson Pope and Voorhees prepared both the December 29th and the revised August document. I prepared a review of the December 29th, and at the February meeting, my January 20th letter, which described the discrepancies and some of the confusion in the early EIS and the reasons for its rejection, was included in your resolution as an attachment. I believe the applicants have really reorganized it and set it up in accordance with those comments. So I was satisfied with the exception of those few missing pieces that I think they should add in the appendix to the engineering report on the Part 360 permit.
Okay, do we have any other questions? All right, thanks, Jeff. So if the board passes the resolution, that'll start the process and get us to the public hearing in early November. All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda is actually been postponed at the applicant's request, Peconic Farms major subdivision. We did receive the memo from the planning staff, which concluded that they were likely going to recommend a pos deck on this for a number of reasons. And I guess the applicant, Greg, said that they wanted some time to digest it and respond to that, so that's why they asked to adjourn it for tonight.
Correct.
Okay. So that brings us to item 3 on the agenda, new singular wireless at Pulaski Street, Riverhead Water District.
All right, so this is an administrative site plan application proposing to modify an existing wireless communications facility and upgrading existing equipment located at the Riverhead Water District facility at 1035 Pulaski Street in Riverhead. This application has received an owner's endorsement, which was signed by the superintendent of the Riverhead Water District, and also the plans were reviewed by H2M Architects and Engineers, which are the consulting engineers for the Riverhead Water District, and those plans were approved by H2M on February 18th of 2021. We have received a radio frequency safety survey report prepared by Centerline Communications dated August 19th, 2021, as well as a structural analysis report prepared and stamped by a licensed professional engineer dated January 7th, 2021. In terms of SECRA, the proposed action is an unlisted action. Staff recommends the planning board assume lead agency and issue a negative declaration, as there are no foreseeable significant negative environmental impacts from the proposed equipment swap-outs. The equipment swap-out specific to this application consists of removing and replacing 6 existing antennas on the water tank, replacing 6 existing RRH units on the water tank, install 3 new RRH units in a ground-level equipment shelter, and paint the new equipment the same color as the adjacent tanks. The RF analysis report did analyze the existing carriers which are present on the facility. These include Sprint, T-Mobile, and Metro PCS. The report used modeling which found that the RF exposure levels at the ground level of the site will be 0.11% of the maximum permissible exposure for the general population at ground level, which is established by the Federal Communications Commission. I did note, which I've reviewed a number of these administrative swap-outs before. One thing that kind of jumped out at me was the RF exposure levels at the catwalk level. Some of those numbers exceeded 1,000% of the MPE levels. Now, I did speak with the applicant who prepared the RF report. I believe is here. I believe it's Mr. Matt Lindbaum. Basically, the catwalk level of that water tank, outwardly facing, so if you were to really step over the catwalk level, if you were on the outside of that guardrail, they would far exceed the MPE levels as established by FCC. However, there are FCC regulations in place regarding signage and training of staff that's going to be accessing these facilities. Those facilities may need to be shut off at certain points if they're going to be maintaining them. I did correspond with the superintendent of the Riverhead Water District. Obviously, one of the #1 concerns would be safety if any Riverhead Water District employees were up there and they were unaware of these safety protocols. When I spoke to Mr. Mancini, he told me that Riverhead Water District employees are never going to go up on that tower. They're under maintenance. They don't do that. They'd be done by outside companies. But I did include in a resolution just that I would want to ensure that the applicant corresponds with the water district and gets some sort of sign off that they're okay with any safety protocols and measures that are put in place.
The water district wouldn't use their personnel there, but what you just said is that they have to have the tank inspected, and so outside agencies or outside people would still go up there.
Correct. If anybody's going to go up and use that,
Right.
get up on that facility, that they're aware of any sort of shutdown procedures. There will be appropriate FCC signage that's put in place. They do detail that in the site plan. They identify those specific signages. So basically
That
just,
anybody from outside going towards the tower would see that and realize these things had to be turned down.
correct, yes. They would be enclosed in a fence. They would be easily identifiable. You wouldn't just wander in and, inadvertently get X-rayed. So in terms of the structural analysis, which was dated January 7th, 2021, they analyzed the 3 sectors, and they found that the existing mounts will be structurally sufficient to handle the new singular wireless equipment. I did note that the report only analyzed the existing equipment mounts. It did not analyze the suitability of the tower foundations. If that's something that the board would like to include as a condition of approval, I'm sure we could have them provide an analysis of that. As with all of these the administrative swap outs, we will require a licensed professional engineer to provide a post-construction analysis of the mounting and strut installation to ensure that it is performed in accordance with the site plan, the stated plans. And again, wrapping up, like I said, I spoke with the water district superintendent. he was okay with it, so we'll ensure that the safety of anybody operating on that tank will be ensured. If the board has any other questions, I can answer them, or, like I said, we do have a representative from the application.
You have a representative
From the application,
that's here?
yeah.
Oh, okay. Now, Mike, really just a point that you touched on, Greg. The structural analysis only looked at the existing mounting, and being that they're adding equipment, I'm sure that brackets can handle their extra equipment, and that's what they're certifying, but the structural integrity of the tank itself, I don't know, maybe just circle back. I don't think we need to make it a requirement, but I think we should at least note back to the water district that, we mentioned that, and when's the last time that the whole tank had a structural analysis done with all of these carriers on there?
All right, so we don't want to include that as a condition?
I mean, he signed off on it, their engineering firm signed off on it, a PE from the applicant signed off on it, so, I mean, I think we're fine, but I just think it bears mentioning that, they only looked at those brackets and not, the struts or legs that the tank is supported on
All right.
as a whole. And usually they do wind loads on that too, and we've been getting more and more storms, so let's just mention it back to the water district that was our only comment for them to consider going forward.
Noted.
Anything else from the board, any questions? Okay, we'll vote on that tonight. And you gave me a big packet on this, which I'm gonna give back to you. All right, next item is a public hearing for North Fork Developers LLC for a major subdivision.
Good evening, Charles Cuddy for the applicant. With me also is Gary Sherman, who is the principal of North Fork Developers LLC. This is a 12.8 acre site that is off Cathy Lane, which is next to Rabbit Run in the Tall Oak subdivision. There'd be 10 lots in the RA 40 district. The lots are laid out so that they proceed in a north-south direction. These lots are essentially 3/4 acre to 1.5 acre, which are significantly larger than the lots in the adjoining subdivision. The site's served by public water. We've made application to the health department. And the health department, according to Tom Wilpert at Young & Young, is satisfied with the design and layout, and he expects to get approval relatively soon from the health department. So we're here tonight to ask the board to consider approving the subdivision. We believe that it's appropriate in every respect. We've made 10 lots instead of 11 lots, which was the yield originally. And again, I think it's an appropriate subdivision at this point.
I have one question for you. The set of maps that I have are dated May 7th this year. Has there been any revision since then?
No.
You also mentioned, Mr. Cuddy, that it was served by the water district. It's proposed to be served, correct?
That's a correction, yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
And you're aware of the challenges of the water district and their potential inability not to have capacity for this, correct?
And my client's been continuously in touch with them, yes.
Okay. And you know what requirements they may put forth?
Yes.
Okay. All right, any other questions from the board?
No, sir.
Anyone from the public have any comments or questions on this? Just come up to the podium, please, and state your name for the record and comment and ask whatever you like.
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you this evening?
Good, you?
Just your name for the record, please.
My name is Kevin Johnson.
Thank you.
All right. I spoke to Mr. Cutley earlier today. I noticed a sign up on the tree at the cul-de-sac at the end of Midway Drive with this proposed development is going to be taking place. I know big business is, in the forefront of a lot of things. The cul-de-sac that is going to be, I guess, more so approached with this development, I think it would have been more so kind for either Mr. Cutley himself or his constituents to come to the neighbors just to see possibly all this development going on, and for everyone to not be in the know of what's going on. Riverhead is a small town. The area in question is a very quaint area. But to have this business, which is going to draw the dollars, because for the most part, that's what pushes everything in this economy anyway. I think it's more so, a little out of touch as far as the people is concerned. To just see someone come up putting a sign up about what's going to go on in the area without the heads up, without opinions, because it seemed like this particular development was something that was in question for years now. Me, myself, I'm 41, so it's been going on for some time. The area in question, you got a lot of youth who ride the dirt bikes in the woods. Woods are not bothering anybody. I know you got a lot of areas around town, possibly in Riverhead, Wading River, stretched out northwest, east, south, where they don't allow people to ride these dirt bikes, to have fun. With everyone, we all deal with a lot. Just the wearing of the mask is pathetic in my opinion. But to be able to get out, get outside, get a breath of nature, because I myself, I walk those trails. So just to know that some development is possibly coming into the area, it was such a shock, because it literally would change the whole spectrum of that area. And I've been walking that area since I was 9 or 10 years old. Again, I'm 41. So that's been some time. And, I'm understanding of, things change in time. But again, it's more so as far as getting a heads up, little respect for the people. Because us being the taxpayers and you, gentlemen, being the selected and elected officials, it'd be nice to be informed. It'd be nice for you guys to be more in touch with the people as far as what we want. Now, I'm not necessarily completely opposed to it, so that's not my position this evening. It's more so, again, the respect of the area, because there's different areas in town where respect is given and respect is not given.
Can I ask you a question?
You sure can?
Are there any community groups, associations for that area around the subdivision?
It's not, I'll say, it's not necessarily a formal group, but it is the youth, and that's what I'm here for. The youth has not much. That area that is in question, I myself, I use it as a platform for where the youth can meet in peace, fun, happiness, the outlook of life versus the negativity that's before all of our eyes. So no, it's not a group that's formed, but if that's what's necessary to come before you and speak from a certain position to where you guys will give respect to it, maybe that's something to consider. But I don't think it should take that. I know with politics in itself, a lot of elected and selected officials take a certain position to be for the people, but it's not really for the people. So again, with this development that's in question, I believe is the right thing to do, to be in touch with the people of the area versus looking at the monetizing of the area and what it'll bring in. You know, because once developers choose an area, they develop the area, they make the money. Now it's in the past. They just know the money's coming in. They don't really care about that area. They don't care what it's doing to the people. So, again, when in the future developments in the town of Riverhead, if it's going to be affecting particular areas, and again, I'm talking of the area in question, I think it'd be, respectful to let the people of that area to know what's going on. They don't owe it to anyone, because it's about the money, and money talks. But again, I had the pleasure of speaking to Mr. Cutley earlier today. Great gentleman, very forthcoming, I'll say. But just to see the nature be demolished, basically, for the increase of someone else's pocket, it's a little disappointing. Because the trails are beautiful over there. Maybe you guys can come out, take a walk through there. I think you'll enjoy yourself. And even maybe you'll come across some of the youth from the town who gathers around that area. So it'll be a sad day, I'll say, if all of this goes through, because then that'll change the whole spectrum of what's been going on for years over there. So, maybe that's something to consider for you gentlemen of the board, for you, Mr. Cutler.
Mr. Johnson, if I might just add something.
You may.
One of the problems that we have is we don't dictate policy.
Exactly.
This comes in front of us, and we take care of subdivisions.
Mm-hmm.
So if an individual files for a subdivision, that's all we're doing, is we're looking at the subdivision, and we're saying that, yes, this works, no, it doesn't work.
Okay.
That's what we're doing.
Okay. Well, I do understand that you don't, in your words,
It's hard
necessarily-
excuse me for interrupting you,
Go
but
ahead.
it's hard for us to tell somebody who owns a piece of property that has the right to do this.
Mhm.
You can't do it because the rest of the neighbors don't like it. We can't dictate policy to someone.
Okay.
All we can do, again, is say, this is a viable subdivision, or it's not.
Yes.
So it's tough. Believe me, I understand what you're saying.
Okay. Well, I
No.
appreciate that you do understand what I'm saying, but I guess kind of rebuttal what you're saying. It's more so, again, about the respect, not necessarily what the neighbors don't like, but it would be kind. It would be a kind gesture to let the neighbors know what is possibly coming to an area that has been undeveloped for some time. I'm sure you among your constituents, it's a normal conversation. People speak casually, and things are brought about. Hey, did you know this is going to be going on? Hey, did you know this? That's all I'm saying here for. I'm not saying what I wouldn't like or what I don't like. I'm just saying it's more of a respect thing. That's all. Just for someone to just come in my area and put up a sign, it's a little disrespectful. If they come down, spoke, put their hand in the neighbor's hand, talk to them a little bit, then put the sign up, that's respect. But just to come into an area when no one knows who you are and put a sign up, so it's not more so about the dictating of things. But again, you guys do allow, approve, and pass things. So you are in a certain position of power to allow certain things to go on, whether someone owns land or not. I hope you understand where I'm coming from with that. So, I appreciate the board hearing me out this evening.
So, Mr. Johnson, if I may.
You may.
So, I'm happy you saw the sign, and just so you know, this.
Pretty big sign.
What's that?
It's a pretty big sign.
Yeah. So, this public hearing tonight is for the public to come and offer their comments.
That's why I'm here.
Exactly. So, we're not making any decision on this tonight. Your comments are welcome, they will be heard, and, you know, that's how we move forward and make decisions. You know, and there are things that we can do, you're absolutely correct with a situation like this. You know, a property owner has rights, a right to build stuff, they pay
Indeed.
their taxes, it's zoned the right way.
Indeed.
But, you know, if residents come out and say, you know, all the kids play there, they have no way to play, well, maybe we'll say, well, let's build a park for them, or something like that. So that's why this process is important.
Definitely.
But I would like to, and we usually do this at the beginning of the hearing, hear from the applicant, just to confirm that it was properly noticed. There are certain things that have to be done before we have these hearings to try and reach out to the community. And forgive me for not asking the applicant to confirm that before we start tonight. So if I could, I'll ask Mr. Cuddy to come back up when you're finished, and just to confirm that we noticed this and posted it properly, to reach out to the community the best we could.
Okay.
It doesn't include, unfortunately, going out and knocking on doors by us, but there is a process and a reach out that was supposed to be confirmed and followed.
All right. Well, I'm happy you added that. But, you know, sadly, that is not part of the process, which should be a part of the process, because this is a cul-de-sac, as I said. And it's only a few homes on this particular street. That's town-owned, may I say, which the road needs to be completely done over. But that's besides the point. I believe that it should be, you should implement that as a part of the process. When you're going to come into someone's area and just do all this development, and I don't know if Mr. Cuddy is a resident of Riverhead, but if he's not, that definitely should be a requirement for outsiders to come into a town and just develop something, because it's all about the money, you know, and I understand that, you know. But again, it should be a part of the process. Again, visiting the area, maybe you could take it in, you know, and it's just a visit. It's not like you live there, so you don't have to deal with it. So, and I'm speaking from the position of living in the area. So dealing with it would be something else. Even when the Tall Oaks development was going on, you know, it's a lot of ruckus, so to speak. And it's like, you know, when decisions are made on you guys' behalf as far as approval, and then again, outside companies bringing in this different infrastructure, you know, I'm pretty sure you've dealt with people who want it versus people who don't want it. Again, this is a quaint area. Now, to see development going on, who knows what type of people, what type of neighbors will be introduced to that area. You know, just because you have money enough to buy a fancy home doesn't make you a great person. You know, you could be a lousy neighbor. That's extremely possible. So, you know, again, like I said, it's about the respect thing, because it's a cul-de-sac. I know it's a different part of the town as far as the area, but respect is more so what it's about. Because I'm sure you yourself, I don't know if you hosting this, but I'm sure you would appreciate being respected in your position. So when you daily living somewhere, you know, respect is definitely, you know, something that would be major as far as I see it. So again, you know, I appreciate you, gentlemen, people from the town, hearing me out, allowing me to take this couple of minutes. This is my first time, so this is kind of nice. I'm definitely going to be visiting you gentlemen more often.
We welcome you.
Yes, thank you so much. So with that, Mr. Cutley, maybe you can fill us in on that.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
I think a few things should be clarified. This applicant sent out over 40, through my office, 40 certified notices to all the surrounding neighbors. So this is not a question of just putting a sign. The sign that he refers to was put up on Midway Drive because Midway Drive has just a tangent point with the edge of this site. And so that's where we met. And I explained to him that this would be on tonight, and he was entitled to come to the hearing, certainly. But we have sent out notices. We also erected that sign because that was a point of public interest anyway, because it was a public street. We also put a sign up on Cathy Lane, which is the entrance to this site. And as I say, the surrounding owners were notified by mail. That's probably as many notices as I've sent out in the subdivision in years. I think everybody in the room is interested in having Riverhead as a good neighbor and wants to work to make sure that what's done subdivision-wise is appropriate. And I think this is a subdivision that, as I said, has larger lots than the surrounding area. And I don't know that it's going to have any impact on the gentleman who just spoke, because it's really, that part of the subdivision is a recharge area that's going to have a number of bushes and things in it. So I do want the board to know that, yes, there was a significant notice sent out.
Okay, thank you. If anyone else from the public who wants to comment or question on this application?
Yeah, as far as those notices being sent out, maybe you can direct question to Mr. Cutley as far as what surrounding areas were they sent out to? As far as owners that he speaks of, what are the owners? Is it on that Midway side, or is it on that Tall Oak side? That's one thing I would like to be answered.
I think it's anyone within 200 feet.
Adjacent property owners.
Excuse me?
Any adjacent property.
Owners,
Adjacent property owners?
next door neighbors. Greg, what does the code define as who gets notified?
Yes, sir. So the town code requirements for subdivision public hearings require all adjacent owners of record within 200 feet. So you basically take the property lines, you draw a 200-foot circle radius around that property, and all of those property owners were noticed. I can provide Mr. Johnson, if he wants to take a look at the list of owners that were mailed, I can surely
Okay.
show that to him, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Anyone else have any comments or questions on this application? Okay,
Make a motion to close the public hearing for North Fork Developers LLC. So moved.
Second.
motion made and seconded to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, the public hearing is closed. All right, before we take up the resolutions tonight, do we have any comments from the public on resolutions? All right.
I'm going to move resolution number 92, Meeting Hollow Club Extension and Performance and Water Key Money. So moved.
Second?
I do have a question on this. Whose application is this?
We've had this one before.
I know, but 2 years seems like a long time. I mean, why are we, what's the status of this? Does anyone know?
Stan, I can tell you the town attorney's office submitted letter to us from the person that's holding performance security. They requested the extension. It went through the town attorney's office, and I also sent it over to Vinnie. They are looking for just a recommendation to the town board to do the extension for 2 years. Laura Calavita reviewed it, and Bob reviewed it as well.
So they paid the $231,000, I believe, representing road and drainage improvements in the past. Resolution
So is this,
24091.
I'm just, if you have some information, sure.
Bob's here, I need...
Yes, please.
Because he's going to be here for the...
Please, if the board doesn't mind, I know we have a motion in a second. We'll come back to it.
Sure.
If you could find Bob.
December 1st, 2020, accepted a performance security from Beatty Hollow Development in the amount of $231,610.
Right, but I'm just wondering, I mean, has it been built? Are the homes there? Has it not been sold? I mean, are people waiting for the roads to be done? I mean, before we do this for 2 years, I'd just like to know the answers to that. So we'll move on to the second one. We'll come back to it. And I understand we do have a second, and we will act on that second.
All right, I'll move number 93, New Cellular Wireless at Pulaski Street, granting the administrative site plan approval. So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve Resolution 93 for New Singular Wireless at the Water District. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Resolution's approved.
I'll move the resolution number 94, which accepts the draft environmental impact statement for public, and sends out for public review.
Second the motion?
Motion made and seconded to approve Resolution 94, 1792 Middle Road, to accept the DEIS as resubmitted. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution's approved.
Move resolution number 95 for the Purple Beach Major Subdivision, granting sketch plan approval. So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve Resolution 95 for sketch plan, Purple Beach Major Subdivision. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Resolution's approved. Okay, do we have any public comments at all on any matter? Any public comments?
Make a motion, we move the minutes to the August 19th, 21 minutes.
Second.
Motion second to approve the minutes of August 19th. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Okay, Bob, could you just shed some light on that Beatty Hollow Club for us, please?
Okay, I'm not sure where to start.
Well, my question is like, 2 years just seemed like a long time.
That's what our code provides for.
2 years, nothing less?
Our code provides for 2 years with a deposit of $2,000, so that's...
Is it
that's
up
what-
to 2 years or 2 years period?
It says 2 years.
Okay. Are there homes in there that are waiting?
There's not a single home in there.
Not a single home, so
What's
it's-
happened is this part of the Beatty Hollow Club, which is the subdivision phase, other than an initial road that's been cut in, there have been no houses constructed. There's been a long tortured history. There was some litigation, there was foreclosures, there was other things that were happening, and then the party that acquired it recently sold it to another entity. I think it was in the beginning of the year. So they're trying to determine whether they have all of their ducks in a row, easements and things, and I think they are looking to market it and build houses, but they're not there yet. So that's why they asked
Fine.
for the 2 years.
I didn't know if people were waiting and there were
No,
residents worried about roads.
There's not
Understood.
there's not a single house in there yet.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
So we have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 92 for extension of the performance and key money. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Resolution's approved. Okay, so we are going to go into executive session to discuss both a personnel matter and litigation for 48 Cromer Avenue. A motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. So we will be back shortly to finish the meeting, so if you could just bear with us for maybe 10 minutes, and we'll be back and call the meeting back to order. Okay. Motion to come out of executive session?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we're out of executive session, we're back to our regular agenda. We do have more minutes to approve from August 5th.
I'll move the minutes from August 5th.
Second motion?
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes of August 5th. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Minutes are approved. Other business, Jefferson.
Good evening. A couple of updates. One is really, really important. I'd like to announce that the public meetings for the comprehensive plans have been set and they are scheduled. There'll be a public announcement or press release issued by the supervisor tomorrow, but she announced it this morning, so I can share it with you this evening. The first one, and it's going to be by geographic areas, and I apologize I don't have them with me this evening. The first one is going to be held, and these can all be held at the Senior Center on Shade Tree Lane. The doors open at 5:45 p.m. and the meeting presentations begin at 6. The first one will be Monday, September 13th. The next meeting, there will be 4 of them. The next 3 will be on consecutive nights, beginning with Monday, September 27th, followed by Tuesday, September 28th, and finally Wednesday, September 29th. Those are going to be live in person. They're also going to be held via Zoom, so if you Zoom in, you can have your comments entered into the record via Zoom. And then Larry Levy is also going to be recording the meetings and have them on Channel 22. This is just the first round of the meetings. After these meetings, we're going to be scheduling a CAC, a Central Advisory Committee meeting, so Stan, you'll be getting a copy of that doodle poll shortly. After that, we're going to be having our 4 breakout groups before the end of the year. So that's our schedule for going forward. Just very happy to get this thing off the ground and get the public's input as soon as possible.
They're all at the senior center?
They're all at the Senior Center.
And how will these be advertised to the general public?
That's a great question. It's going to be a press release. We have our bullet list of all of the stakeholders that have entered in, that they're interested, like the civic associations, all the community groups. We're going to broadcast it that way. Maybe we should put an ad in the newspaper also.
Yeah, I'd put it wherever possible to try and do a good outreach.
Yep. That's a great idea.
Is it possible for us to get a copy of the plan? Is it possible for us to get a copy of this draft plan?
There's no draft plan at this point. We're still in the data gathering stage at this point. This is like step 1 for the website is up. If you go to the town website now, we made it really simple to find the new website. It's on page 1 of the town website. It just says comp plan update in the middle of the page. Click on that and it takes you right to the link where the new website is. There's a community survey. There is an interactive map that's really, really fun to use. And there's also an email address, so if you have questions or comments about the comp plan, you can enter them directly to the consultant that way. So there's a host of ways of providing public input. Also, as an attachment to it, we finally have updated zoning maps. So Bob and I are trying to work out how we're going to officially adopt those, because it's an interesting question, never been posed before, but it's nice to actually have maps that you can read, and they have all the updated actions by the town board. They're at least 3 or 4 years out of date, so you'll see those on the website as well. Second thing I just want to bring to your attention is a Chapter 219 application you just recently saw called Imperatori. And we were alerted by the adjacent property owner, who you all know, who has an office in Town Hall. He had a blowout on his property. He clear cut up to the bluff, which was allowed to do, but unfortunately when Henri came, it took all his sand and went down her bluff, and rode her bluff, blew out her the rock revetment below her wall. So we issued a stop work order immediately. This happened on Monday. Tuesday, we required that he put up emergency stormwater and sediment control measures because we knew that Ida was coming through the next day. He did it that day, and it held. We're not going to release the stop work order until we get an action plan from him, though, because he's not going to only has to fix his property and his bluff, he's got to fix the adjacent property owners as well, and that's going to require a new Chapter 219 with you and a new DEC permit. So we're going to get Vinny to go out there and take an inspection, and he's got to have to come up with an action plan and time frame to address all these before we release the stop work order. So that's where we are, just want to
Is
give you.
there a threat for more erosion to happen if this goes into winter?
We're concerned about that, but he put up our senior buildings inspector went out there. He said it held with this onslaught of rain that we had last night. But we're going to have Vinnie go out there and take a look at to make sure that there's no possibility of it getting worse during the winter months.
Okay, so they responded quickly.
Yeah,
Okay,
that was it.
all right, thank you. So, I guess that's all we have. Next meeting is Thursday, September 16th at 3 PM. Motion to adjourn.
Second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good night.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
Holiday weekend.